Cool.
What's going on? Ed here from ClicksGeek, and I am here with Jeff from Agency Scaling Secrets. What's up, Jeff?
What's popping, my man?
Nice to have you here.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I've seen you around the digital marketing agency space for 5 or 10 years. This is our first time actually meeting in person, so nice to meet you.
I fell into your tribe exclusively through your YouTube channel. And who's the other guy on there?
Rob.
Rob. So I'm pretty sure I spoke with him. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I fell into your world because I was just so exhausted with like having to needle through the haystack, wheat through the shaft conversation, right?
Yep.
That I said, like, what if we just did AdWords instead? And with your training, we nailed some industries and niches. And I felt pretty cool because that was the first time I experienced AdWords successfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like up until then, it was, hey, would you like to spend 18 hours trying to figure out keywords? And I was like, no, I'm just going to do like call only ads, right? And like looking back on the journey, like every digital marketing journey is not marked by success. It's marked by failures and frustrations. Like the journey is, I hit a wall and I got through it. I hit a wall and got through it. Like if you have instant success immediately, it's like nobody cares and it's not worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with my digital marketing journey, it was low quality leads, can't sell them, super frustrated. Let's try different mediums and all that. And on that, I would say like 6 to 12 months ago, I found your channel and took it from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's funny. I just talked about the only reason we're winning is because we didn't stop. I just talked about that the other day. It's how many fuck ups we had along the way. And
yeah,
talking about you don't learn from the wins. You learn about like how you burned your hand and how not to burn your hand again.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that reference.
Yeah, man. Nobody cares that The Rock makes like $25 million a year. They care about when he came to where I don't know, from Hawaii or I don't know, when he showed up with like $7 in his pocket and then didn't make the cut to the football team and then had to like get fired and his mom couldn't make rent. Like all the mistakes and the failures and the frustrations that hallmark someone's journey, like all the scars. Like those are a lot more fun to talk about and a lot more character driven and relatable and actually end up doing better in terms of like client getting activities and getting people to pay you money type thing than is saying like, I figured this out in 15 minutes and we've been making $1 billion a day ever since. And you're like, I don't believe you. Like a journey without scars isn't really fun. So yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You brought up a really interesting thing pre-call, and part of the calcification we took and the scarring that we took was in the dental niche, specifically in dental implants. We could generate tons and tons of those, but we got our ass handed to us because we were told the leads sucked. They weren't closing, and you described building out a system for flipping the script and building out better systems internally for the practices. Yeah. Can you kind of walk through what you did and how you were able to kind of change the narrative?
So when I cut my teeth and earned my stripes, I got into a world with Dan Henry and then Russell Brunson and Dan Kennedy. And then I found my way around all that. And one of the hallmarks of advertising was like your big, scary, massive offer. Like I will make you famous overnight. And if I don't, I'll refund you $3,500 or some type of risk reversal structure, like a claim. And depending upon where you are, claim has a negative connotation or positive connotation, but you'd have like your claim at the top and then a risk reversal. And that's how I grew up. And that's where I cut my teeth and earned my stripes on marketing. And I was like, oh my God, if I just did that to my clients, everybody would be happy. Like I'm going to sell the way I was sold. Right. So I remember signing up for all these newsletters that said, if you don't see like $9,997 worth of value, you call me and I'll refund you, plus give you $100 for wasting your time. Or like you buy a digital product and it has like a 12-month money back guarantee, like something like that. Like the languaging and the offer itself was the ad. It was massive. Right. And I was like, oh my God, that's so perfect. I'm going to do the same. And when I started advertising to get clients, I followed that format. It would say in the dental space, like get 30 implant consultations or we'll refund you plus give you $100 for wasting your time. And I'm going like, of course it's going to work. It's going to be amazing. They're going to love it the same way I loved it. It's going to be perfect, right? I get on the phone with these dentists and the first thing that they say is, I don't believe you. Who are you? There's no way this is going to work. This is a scam. It's like, no, they obviously misread the ad. Obviously, what are you talking about? No, like I'm a person. Treat me with respect. Who do you think you are? Right. And it was the first time in my now very short marketing career on this journey that I received the opposite of like positive acclaim and affirmation, right? Because everybody else, when you're selling to marketing to marketers is one thing, right? You're selling to people who sell, like they'll buy everything. But when you're selling to a cold audience that is naturally skeptical, that has tried the tool, which we'll talk about for a bit, their default is this ain't gonna work. Kind of like people who tried keto, and you're like, it's keto, and they're like, keto, I tried keto, don't work. Not gonna fucking happen. Or no, it's high intensity interval training, it's not gonna work. Or no, we've tried, it's not gonna work, right? So I'm on the phone with these dentists, and I'm like, look, it's gonna be fine. We'll just risk reversal it. And they're like, okay, fine. So they pay like $3,500. And within 2 weeks, you realize what really happens. And I don't know if you've ever, like, for everybody listening, if you ever sell a client and then the next day they call you, it's never a good thing. Like, it's not going to fucking happen. Kind of like when you buy something on Amazon and then you open up customer support, it's not because you're saying thanks so much, right? It's usually something negative. So the first responses I was getting from these dentists that I had researched, I had figured out, that I'd done customer research on, and deeply believed that was working. The first response I got were, these are fake leads. They're time wasters. They're tire kickers. They're not serious. They're not qualified. It was like everything that could go wrong. I was like, damn, like this sucks, right? That was like the first, I would say, 2-3 months of me advertising to get advertising clients. If you're doing referrals or in person, it's a different narrative. But I was literally running an ad that said that. I was like, this sucks. But maybe, Dan Kennedy was like, 10% of your clients going to be angry no matter what. Just let them go. I was like, all right, fine. So this is an angry person. And I realized if I let all my angry clients go, I would have no clients. I'm like, okay, that's not going to fucking work, right? And I ended up having to just bang my head up against the wall and have this, like, I call it a Tony Stark moment. We used to call them Eureka moments, but now like they're Tony Stark moment, like, I could see it, like, and you have to build it type of thing. And what I discovered is that the reason why the dentists were saying that they were low quality leads, they weren't serious and stuff like that, is because the person on the phone would ask, how much is it, and hang up the phone. Or they would say, I just saw an ad on the internet. What is this about? Type of thing. I said, all right, what the hell can I do to make sure that these are real, people qualified, and at least negate the response of these are not real? Like, if I needed some like evidence file of like, what do you mean they're real? Like, this is the conversation, right? So what we ended up doing is building out this whole way of working inside of our CRM, automations, all the fun stuff. And this is how we had it set up. So first things first is that I would never, not once, use their page. And the reason why is because the dentist would freak out if we requested access. It would be shut down for a half second. All the fire alarms would go off. I'd have to add somebody and then call them back. It would take too long. So we just used our own page. Yep. And that was easier, right? And this is Facebook and IG, not Google, right? But even if it was Google, when I was using Google, I was doing my own landing page, right? So it would be our page that we owned. The second is we only advertise the price. So we wouldn't say, transform your smile with blank. We would say, dental implants for X price. And that was specific because the dentists were saying they didn't know the price, they were low quality leads. Now it can be like, the price is in the ad. What are you talking about, right? The third thing that we ended up building out is that I was on the phone with these people asking qualification questions. Like, I was literally saying, hey, this is Jeff over at Miller Dental. How can I help you, sir? Oh, you saw our ad about, a limited time offer for dental implants at X price. That's fantastic. Is there something specific you want to talk about? Okay, blank, blank, blank. I'd have these like 10 to 15 minute conversations with them. All right. And only after that, I would then say, I think I've got a Dr. Rodriguez. Where did you say you are from? You're from, what was your zip code? 33132. What do you got? Dr. Rodriguez is right down the street from you. Really? Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yeah. Look, let me put you on hold for a hot second. I'm going to get his admin. We're going to see if he can book you in. Is that okay? I'd call the admin and say, hey, this is Jeff Cool Beans Digital. All right. I've got a live one. I want you to be nice. All right. I've had a 15-minute conversation with her. She knows the price. She's down the street. We've gone over these 5 questions. Just be nice to her and book her in for today or tomorrow. I told you got the same day or next day. Can you do that? Okay, fine. I'd hang up, or I'd patch the call, like a through call. I could call American Express. They introduce you along the way. I go, hey, Deborah, you there? Deborah, I've got a Mrs. Jansen on the line. She's the admin over at Dr. Rodriguez. I just told her all about you, but I'm gonna give you the quick 30 seconds. Is that okay? She's like, yeah, sure, fine. Give the update, and then I'd pass the lead along. Right? We had to do all these steps because I was so allergic to people saying that the work was no good. Right? After a while, you realize it's a lot easier than you think, and then we drag the card over and send a text message to the dentist saying, hey, This is Jeff Cool Beans Digital. Here's the patient that we just sent to your front desk. Name, number, email, date of birth, address, what they're interested, like all the questions, all the form fill, right? And then blah, blah, blah. Then internal notes. Like, this is what she said, this is what she didn't say. And then I would ask another question, which is like, how would you rate this lead? And then he'd always reply back with 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks good to me. And then it wasn't a conversation anymore. All of a sudden, I was like, look, they saw the ad. We talked to them. And now it's my operator doing it, but back then it was me. We answered all these questions. You got a form fill by text. Live transfer them. You said it was an 8 out of 10. You can't say it's a bad lead anymore. Okay. Literally on the phone. Something else is wrong. It ain't us. And that like Tony Stark moment blew me out of the water. All of a sudden our client complaints were like near zero. Contrast that with when I was selling to dentists like marketers sell to marketers. It was 10 out of 10. Everything was the worst thing in the world. But when I developed this like way of working, all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, this is fine. I guess I didn't come in. Okay, no big deal. It's the same conversation. It's the same person. But when I had evidence it was a good lead, they stopped complaining. And that was like the first cohort of like my advertising to get advertising clients journey. Like moving away from this highly nurtured, highly respected, highly influenced, highly authority arena into cold or sold. Like you can't like just wave your hand and all of a sudden they pay you money. You have to build these like ways of working in these systems and these conversations so that you have evidenced proof. And all of a sudden our complaints went away. Like there's still complaints, but it was a very different kind of complaint. It was more like, Jeff, I know this is working. Can you help us figure out why they're not showing up? Can you help us figure out why they're not showing up the next day? Can you help us figure out how to get them come back? So it was more like, you're doing your part, I'm doing our part. Maybe we need to work better together. But man, oh man, like those first 90 days were brutal. Like, you know, you mentioned you can't fail until you give up. Those first 90 days was like, this is close. Like,
yeah, we've never gotten from zero in a niche to $30,000 in a month in a niche so fast.
Yeah.
But then also the opposite side of that, how fast could we lose them on the back end of it? So it's very interesting that that's what you did to plug that gap. Talk to me on metrics on answering live transfer service. Like, how are you affording to do that in the process? Like, how much are you paying for live transfer? Walk through some metrics there.
So it's called the live transfer process.
Okay.
And I found it ends up being a superior modern day version of fulfillment. It's more involved than just raw tool management. Like we'll manage PPC or manage SEO or something like that, or manage Facebook ads, YouTube shorts or something. So there's a value add in terms of this is what works, this is what doesn't. We'll call the leads back, et cetera, et cetera. Internally, we use the CRM. The lead comes in. And what I discovered is out of 10 leads, 7 are trash. And when I'm on the phone with a dentist and I go, look, Mr. Johnson, you know, I both know out of 10 leads, 7 are trash. They go, yep. So immediately we're agreeing on something, right? Instead of me being the marketer saying every lead's a good lead. There, you know, you dial until they tell you to stop. And then, you know, you always sell them something. It's like, man, no boiler room stuff. We're not trying to Grant Cardone anybody. It's fine. 7 out of 10 are going to be trash.
Yep.
Right, we all know that. Out of the remaining 3, okay, 1 of them is good enough to be sold to. 2 are in the maybe category, and they're still judicious guardians of their dollars and their buying process. And depending upon where I am in my journey, sometimes it's 7 out of 10, sometimes 5 out of 10, whatever, right? But that's how I would have the conversations. So I knew out of 10, 7 are going to be trash. 3 end up being good conversations where the person's like, I'm going to be buying in the next 30 days. I'm actively looking, like bottom of funnel type of languaging. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 are like, not 100% sure. I'm still new. And, you know, I don't know when I'm going to come in, but I'm open to having the conversation. So that's how we broke it down. Typically what we found is that dentists were very agreeable to that. They're like, that makes sense. That doesn't seem to be like you're trying to jazz hands me or anything like that. So those are the cost per lead. In terms of the cost per lead, depending upon, you know, anywhere between 10 and 30, sometimes $40 a lead. And then when you think about the numbers, you go, okay, out of 10 leads, that's gonna be $400. 2 people showing, $250 per show. Okay, like that makes sense. Some areas like LA, it was closer to $400 per show, but they were just used to those numbers anyway. And then that number goes up or down depending upon if you're advertising a very expensive product like All-in-4s, which could be 20 to 25 to 30 to 40, or a single implant. which could be $2,800 to $4,500. And that's advertising the price, just flat out pay me money. Honda Civic, $29,000. You could also advertise the lease payments of your Honda Civic at $220, $297. You can do the same thing, like your monthly payments could be as low as $97 a month, or some variation of. So like start your implant journey, $1,000. We had a dentist that was advertising only the implant part of the implant. So people would come in, it'd be $1,000. They drill, they'd fill, they'd put the implant in. And then you're sitting down saying like, look, it's going to heal. And either you can go ahead and sign up for our super cool special where you can pre-buy the abutment and the crown for X price, or you can go shopping. But I'll tell you what, man, we're already halfway done. I'm going to present you this irresistible offer. What do you say? And then they would go ahead and just upgrade, right? Like in marketing talk. In terms of show rates, we never had everybody show, but typically out of 3, 2 or 1 would show. And then they were totally happy because it was, oh, we got 3 leads, 3 dossiers, 3 phone calls. One of them showed up. They're viewing that instead of the 40 and then only 1. So that's how we did the internals. And we were very happy with that model. And it seems to be very client friendly. Like when you own that whole stack, we'd have clients that would sign up at like 9 a.m. and I'll tell them on the phone, you'll have a onboarding document and the ads will be processing on Facebook within 35 minutes. And that blew them out of the water. They're like, holy crap. I was like, yeah, man, 2 weeks is too long. 2 days is too long. I want this in by breakfast, out by lunch. And like that was an incentive for them to purchase. So that worked out pretty well too. Yeah.
I like it. We're a fast onboard. We're typically a day for onboard and launch just because we got to wait for some domains to propagate. But I agree with you there. I think there's money to be made in speed.
Yep.
Assuming it works on the back end.
When we were doing tow truck call only ads that required a landing page, I just had like Tow Truck Association of America /Chicago /Denver /blank with blank, and I just switch it out. So it was already, it's propagated the right term. I don't know. I'll just switch it out.
Yeah, that works. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So talk to me about agency scaling secrets.
It's just the ass fam. Like the only Facebook group with a bot on it is fucking hilarious. That group journey started at a ClickFunnels house like 5 years ago, right? So at this point, I'm maybe a year and a half into my agency journey. I'm selling and pitching clients in the office. So I'd go to Chamber of Commerce. I'll show you you can see like right there, like the green screen, the whiteboard behind it. I'm going to Chambers of Commerce, BNIs, all that stuff, just doing just telling people that I do stuff. They'd come in, we'd do the audit, we ask the right questions. And then at the end of it, they go like, well, my business sucks. Can you fix it? I'm like, sure. And then we pitch them on the board and we'd already have things written out, walk them through it. It's usually like an hour and a half long pitch. And then we close them for like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. It's like, this is fucking nuts, right? And this is how I sold at Intel. This is how I was taught to sell at University of Chicago. And this just made sense, right? So I just kept selling that way in agency life. And apparently that blew everybody out of the water. They're like, holy shit, you could do that? And I'm like, you're not? Like, I don't understand, right? And so I started documenting that on my personal page. And if you go back 5 years, you can still see it to this day. Like those lunch and learns, here's how to do it, here's what not to do, here's selling steps, et cetera, et cetera. And at one point, I was doing these Monday morning coffee talks with Jeff for like 6 to 8 weeks straight. And one day I just fucking blanked. Like I just totally forgot. I made a post saying, hey y'all, we're moving it to Tuesday, starting now, right? And I just went live and there were 80 people watching. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I think around a month later, we're at ClickFunnels. There's a bunch of friends. They're all saying, Jeff, you need to start a Facebook group. And I'm like, no, man, I got enough spinning plates as it is. Like, I'm not going to go ahead and add another one to the mix. And what I discovered about myself is I always have this internal apprehension to progress. Like my default is no. Like no matter what. Hey, you want to? No, I'm going to fucking do it. I'm not interested in new experiences. Only reliving old 90s movies. Thank you very much. Right? I'm not going to do it again. Right? That's my default. All my friends know this. My wife knows it. They got asked like 3 or 4 times. And then like I'm beaten. And I say, okay, fine. So they go, Jeff, you start a Facebook group. I'm like, nah, man, I'm too busy. Jeff, you start a Facebook group. Nah, I can't get to work. Blah, blah, blah. By the 5th or 6th time, we're yelling at each other. They're like, just start a fucking Facebook group. What the hell's wrong with them? I'm not going to start a Facebook group. And I realized external pressure to grow needs to overwhelm the internal pressure to be safe. You need people to push you. Otherwise, you won't. They're yelling at me. I said, fuck it, fine. I don't care anymore, whatever. And they make a post on my personal page and I said, hey guys, there's a PDF and there's a group. You want it? Fucking put a GIF and make it an elephant GIF. Nah, baby elephant GIF. And I pushed enter on my laptop, closed the laptop, said, fucking hate you all, I'm walking out. Come back the next day, open up, click refresh, and Facebook isn't loading, and the fans on the MacBook are just spinning up way too fast. It's because there are 500 people dropping baby elephant GIFs. And like, I had no idea at all whatsoever that this was happening. I said, all right, so we got a Facebook group. And what I didn't tell everybody is that I actually secretly started a Facebook group 2 weeks beforehand. Like, I had a sneaking feeling, and we started it, and it said Agency Scaling Secrets. And there's a guy named Baldeep Chawla, who's big in the agency space. Mm-hmm. He leans in and goes, Jeff, just so you know, you got an ass on your logo. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Baldeep? He's like, no, you really have an ass on your logo. And I was like, stop fucking with me, man. I'm sensitive right now. What else? He's like, no, look. And I put Agency Scaling Secrets. So it said ASS. And at this point, I was like, you know what? This is that I'm not doing a group. My career's over. I can't deal with this shit, right? And you're like, no, man, it's fine. Do it. I asked an older friend of mine. He's like, man, just lean in. It's marketing. It's supposed to be funny. Like, don't make it about you. Just try to build something better. And maybe the butt thing is going to work. Like, all right. So we opened up the group, had everybody join up. That was, I think, 4.5, maybe 5 years ago. We've had 120,000 people since then apply. We've kicked out 60,000 people. Nice. And every day there's probably 50 to 100 people that ask to join. Again, we're probably kicking out 50 people at a time. We're still doing a purge where we're moving 100 people at a time, and the number is still growing. And I get recognized on the street. I've been to conferences, and somebody sends me a Facebook message saying, hey, dude, I see you. I'm coming over. And I'm like, from where? And then somebody like walks and runs over. Is like, yeah, I'm in a party group. I'm like, holy crap, that's so cool. It's created industry standards like Sneaky Surveys or Welcome Text or the Hot Leads pipeline. It's built careers, and it's absolutely nuts. Like that, the power of that group. And all because a bunch of people were just fucking yelling at me. Like, that was it. That's the only reason. And to this day, like, I have that photo, and none of this would exist without it. So it's been a crazy cool journey with the Ass Fam. I ended up meeting Sheryl Sandberg, the former COO of Facebook. She's like, thanks for what you're doing for agencies. I'm like, you're only saying that because agencies pay you money, but thank you, right? But that group is there. There's lunch and learns. There's interviews. And it's so darn cool because every once in a while I get a message saying like, hey, dude, I paid my mortgage off. Like, fuck yeah, man. Way to go. Awesome. And it's entirely because of like the stuff that we talked about in the Ass Fam. So yeah, that's just the basics. Yeah.
Awesome. Is most of your audience focused on Instagram and Facebook advertising, or just agencies in general?
There are a whole smattering of different agencies. Turns out when you make your cover photo stand out, everybody joins up. It's hilarious, right? People started making t-shirts, by the way, without me knowing them. That's awesome. Like, there's the official Ass Fam t-shirt, and then there's like people just made butt logos. I'm like, all right, fine, have a good time. And then some people will make the mistake of using the BuzzFeed logo. You can't do that, right? Originally, I did that, and I had to redo it because like it's BuzzFeed's, right? So we slightly changed it. But there are Facebook ad agencies that do local lead gen and e-commerce, TikToks that do local lead gen e-commerce. There are YouTube Shorts agencies. There's SEO agencies across every smattering of different. There's AdWords agencies. So effectively, like any type of marketing, if it could be done by somebody else, they're in there. There are sales agencies, appointment setting agencies, fulfillment agencies, closing agencies, coaching agencies, coaches who coach coaches on agencies that coach coaches. Like the whole the smattering is there. Funnel builders. It's nuts. Like, it's a whole wide gamut. And it got to a point where I had to put on the cover photo, like, it's local lead gen, guys. It's not e-commerce. Stop that. And they're like, it is e-commerce now. I'm like, oh my God. So now I'm like, I'm going to be playing around with like an e-commerce client. And we're calling it the Fame and Follow-Up program. It's like, we're going to give them scripts, the IG shout out strategy. I'll be writing their content and all their videos and pretending to be them or their CMO, and they'll have my team follow up. And it's for a company that sells plants. And the way he's selling plants right now is exclusively through Facebook groups, nothing else. So he'll do a post and then 1,000 people will want to buy his plants. I'm like, how? And some of his plants are like $2 to $5 grand. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, what? I got no idea that was a thing. But I guess if like there's $5,000 pens, like why are there not $5,000 plants, right?
Sure.
But we're calling it the fame and follow-up. So when I was trying to figure this out, you know where I went? To the Ask Fam, made some posts, had some conversation. I'm like, all right, I got it fleshed out. Like the speed to good advice is massive. So like this, like I call it the chasm of wondering. Like this is where good ideas go to die. Like I've been thinking about it. Never say that to your life. Like either you're doing it or you're not, right? So like that space between I'm thinking about it and I'm doing it, that's where ideas go to die. And so a lot of people have been using the group, the discussions, the narratives to shrink that from however long to maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. There's people that are doing, I call them CapCut agencies, but that's wrong. It should be like clip agencies or content leverage agencies. And they'll get their first 10 clients and they're like, holy crap, man, this is absolutely nuts. And it's because of good discussions in there. So yeah, man, it's a whole smattering of different agencies, different careers, that whole shebang. Yeah.
Very cool. And you've got a team now. How big is that for your actual agency? Talk to me about that.
When we capped out at 50 clients with dentists, it was me. We had 3 operators. 2 were in South America. Sorry, 4 operators. 2 in South America. 2 in somewhere in Eastern Europe. I fucking forget. It's like, it's not Poland. It's a little bit more east of that. Bosnia, Serbia, something like that, right? Where like they speak English with an accent, right? And we had them doing all the follow-up. So we had 50 clients. It was me, no CSM, no salesperson, no ads person. That was just me. And it was the copy and paste campaign. So it was 35 minutes and didn't have to touch it. If it didn't work, it's not Facebook fault or Instagram fault. It's because like you're charging too much. So you should lower your price conversation, right? Or like, here are the scripts. You should say this, or if you want different ads, follow this format and give us the stuff. So 4 employees plus me. And it was nuts, man. Like the client to operator was really, really cool. We had 12 clients per 1 operator. Like, this is great. Looking back, if we had done it correctly, I think it'd been closer to 15. But damn, it's like we had a call center, international, with dentists all across the US, run out of Miami, but not really. I was like, this is like international commerce. So yeah, I think if we had done it correctly, I probably could have handled all 50, just me and 3 operators. We did 4, but that's totally fine by me. So yeah.
Got it. And do you have a team active right now, or is it mostly focused on the agency training side of things?
So I definitely decided this year I'm going to go all in on agency training, because I've never gone all in on agency training. It was always like a hobby. Like, okay, great, fine, whatever. But I never put the amount of effort required or that was deserving of it. And what was funny is that like I got smacked so hard with this type of stuff. So, all right, like people tend to underestimate that rippling effect or that power effect of like one small change and then somebody implements it and then all of a sudden like that blows their business through the roof. And for you, it was a single Google document. For them, it was a life-changing moment. Like nobody remembers how impactful it was for that person, but that person always remember how impactful it was for him or her. Here's an example. So there's a really great team called Jordan and Katie and Alex, and they run a company that does advertising and marketing for hair salons like balayage, and when women do that thing with their eyebrows or the eyelids, the eyelashes, like the whole fucking thing, right? And they come into the office. They happen to be in town. It's like, yeah, cool, let's hang out, whatever. Like, do some brainstorming, like no big deal. Like, oh yeah, there's the problem. You got to fix that. Use this language, and you'll be fine. They go back, and like their $10,000 a month business that was struggling becomes $50,000 a month. I was like, wow, that's nuts. So they come back again, 50 to 100, come back again, 100, 150. This has been going on for like 4 years now. It's insane. They got a team of 12 people. I presented at their in-person event. They had 250 people. They got Table Rush. They sold out of their next year program. Jordan is at dinner with me, my wife, and my best friend. And Jordan sits down and says, hey, so how's those dentists going? I'm like, why is he snappy with me? Like, he's younger than me, you child. What are you doing? Like, come on. He's like, no, seriously, how's those dentists doing? I'm like, you double down on the snappiness. He's like, how's the dentist going? I was like, like, it pays the bills, there's margin, but no big deal. He goes, well, Jeff, just so you know, like every time you take on a dentist, you give up on somebody like me. I was like, oh, we just stabbed me in the fucking heart. What? Like what? No. And then my best friend goes, he's right. And then my wife goes, he's right. And I'm like, Jordan, say it again. And he says it again. He says, every time you take on a dentist that doesn't care about you, that you don't care about, that isn't moving the needle, that they're paying you money and is not changing the world for the better, you give up on somebody like me. I was like, fuck me, man. And I like let that sink so much and like just hit to my core. Within 2 weeks, I made the decision to get rid of every single dentist. Like it's not worth no longer having that rippling effect or building an industry for the better or helping some kids build a fucking business that could make $1 million a month. It's like it's the same amount of client time to make a dentist happy as it is to make them. And so that's when I said, okay, so for this year, I'm going to double down on it. Like this will be the first time I treat my hobby like a business and my business like a hobby. So that's where we went all in. We're finished building out the infrastructure now. We're doing 6-week sprints, in-person events, year-long programs, stuff like that. But it's crazy. Like I'm taking clips of these dental phone calls of what I said, and we've got a Jacob Gonzalez in Dallas, Texas, that used it and closed a $2,000 agreement within 5 days by text message only. No sales calls, nothing like that. We got another guy that does concrete contractors, personal injury attorneys, and 2 or 3 other industries. Used to have an hour and a half long sales call. Like, no, man, not going to happen. Say this, 15-minute sales call, same dollars. Is nuts, right? We got people saying, hey, man, my fulfillment is like hairy and I'm not confident in it. And when your fulfillment is funky, like that just shatters your belief. That's like your infrastructure. Like you don't have fire anymore. It's like your gun doesn't work, so you can't go hunting type of thing. I was like, nah, you just got to click this button, check that box, and then, use the script and you're good. And all of a sudden he is on the phone doing the same journey that I was with my dentist, like talking to people, like having a script, having the operators, going to $75,000 a month in less than 90 days. I'm like, holy shit. Like, why can't I do that again? Right. And the whole structure is that, like, going back to the original topic that we mentioned, is like having these like huge claims and risk reversals. The problem is that it whiplashes your fulfillment like you experienced. You'll go all the way up and all the way down. You're like, that just ruins and causes too many gray hairs. And this is why you can't sleep at night. But if you advertise and have an offer that properly reflects your fulfillment, what people want, like we were spending $20, $30 a day, only getting 2 or 3 sales calls a week. But we were closing 2 or 3 calls or 2 or 3 clients a week. I was like, this is fucking great. And then they would never leave. And yeah, it was less than like the $3,500, the $4,500, the $5,500 that Stripe screenshots braggadociousness was going around. It was in closer to $750 to $1,500, but they'd stayed 2 years and I never talked to them and they were always happy. So it was interesting seeing that transition, but I forgot what we were talking about. So there you go.
I like it. If there's anybody, if you have a system that's generating 2 or 3 clients a week,
that's
you've got an engine that's going to become a 7-figure business very quickly. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. Like that's the challenge I always had, which was when I bought, it was people who had massive authority, always on stage talking about big numbers.
Yep.
But when you're selling to an end client, that is almost repulsive. They're like, you sound like everybody else. I don't believe you. You're not me. You have no authority in my space. And if you're not older than them, they think you're lying or unexperienced. And if you are older than them, they say, why would I believe you? I know what to do. Like there will always be a mismatch if you're selling to them the way you were sold your first chunk of experience, right? Like they don't want to buy from a rock star type of thing. So
you nailed it there. I want to throw in one part. It's you mentioned a few earlier, specifically like Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham. Those are guys I cut my teeth learning from. And I used to try to write direct mail because that's how we've gotten a ton of clients like them.
Yeah.
But always fell flat. When I cleaned it and did a 1-page letter, headline, simple ask, and make it like a 3 or 4 sentence letter, it always works. Always. Like we just sent out direct mail for to acquire some agencies, and it's like 100 words total, and the thing pulls. You can go super simple with the ask if you are going to marketing to marketers is so different. Like you said, it's a different game.
Correct. The challenge with having an over verboseness is that it's very easy to misinterpret as the reader, and then as the writer, you're putting so much emphasis on nailing everything that like most people go, I don't even know what this is about anymore. And so if you end up figuring out your I don't want to say 7-second pitch, but like 140 character conversation or your one line or something like that. Once you nail that, everything else works. It's literally like my client getting ads are just like the one liner. This is what we do. This is the price. Are you interested? And there are so few variables. If it don't work, I only have 2 variables to play with, which is the product or the price. Most times, by the way, it's the product. Like most people don't know what their clients want, and most clients don't know what their customers want. But if you nail your product, like people will sign up. And now it's like a friendly conversation, 10 to 15 minutes instead of like an hour and a half long sales pitch. And now you don't need to pay 15, 20% to a salesperson. You don't need to pay 15 to 20% to Facebook or Instagram. You don't have to pay a F ton of fulfillment to a CSM. You don't have to walk away 30% margins. You can run $1 million a year, one-person business, paying them $750,000. What the fuck, right? Like that's an insane number. And it's because you end up removing a bunch of stuff. Like, you know, the phrase that like perfection is when there's nothing left to remove. Like remove a bunch of shit from your agency. Just keep deleting stuff. That's what we did, by the way. Like we just kept deleting things. If it's not fast, get rid of it. Delete it. Goodbye. Gone. And we had a lot of clients say, hey, appreciate the once every 3 weeks Zoom update or Loom update, but we don't got to talk, man. I can see you're doing your job by text message. Like I can see that you sent me 4 and I replied back 8 out of 10. We're good. Don't call me again.
Yep.
Perfect, man. So that's where it gets really, really cool, at least for me.
Very cool. You mentioned earlier that you have a live event coming up. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah. April 21st, 22nd. Okay. Oh, hold on. It's on my personal page. We're going to get there. Yeah. So it's an in-person event. It's April 21st and 22nd. Yeah. So 3 times a year, but I say once a year, every year. It happens 3 times a year. So we end our 6-week sprints with an in-person event. And people come to our basement of an office, and then we just knock out like 3 or 4 months worth of stuff in a half day. And so the way we set it up, I think it's like pretty fucking cool. So the day starts at 10. And then from 10 to 11, you're only doing one thing, and we're all doing it at the same time.
Okay.
But for some people, it's like restructuring their client getting out, or the customer getting out, or restructuring their script, solving a problem. We're all doing the same thing. Usually, by the way, everybody has the problem. It just doesn't fever at the same time. So from like 10 to 11, for example, we're doing client getting ads, only client getting ads. At the end of 60 minutes, you have a client getting ad done. We launch it live, close the laptop, move the next thing. So then from like 10 a.m. to 11, work on setting up the CRM, the pipeline, stuff like that. From 11 to 12, we're doing something else. And then we have lunch. And then, for example, with like from like 3 to 4, we're shooting our client getting videos. We're shooting our VSLs in the other room, like talking head and all that. And then we rinse and repeat the second day. And every single time, somebody gets a goddamn client within 48 hours. Every time, right? We have one guy, I want him to come from England, because what he does is he does content re-leverage stuff. So like you send him like a video interview like this, he'll chop it up, Gary Vee, et cetera, right? And what we discovered is that having the phrase done for you video editing really doesn't like resonate or match the market. It's again a reflection of the agency doesn't know what the clients want, and the clients don't know what the customers want. So the customer and the client isn't like, I really want done for you video work. They're not saying that, right? They're not thinking that. They're saying like a different languaging altogether. But with him, we completely dropped any and all conversation about done for you video work. Instead, we specifically use this language. And so if there's any like video guys listening, you 100% need to start saying this. The languaging that currently matches the marketplace for video, YouTube clips, TikTok, all that stuff, I will place a content scaling team inside of your business in less than X hours. Not days, not weeks, not months, not train you, not done for you. I will place it in your business in less than X number of hours. And so with him, we sat down. It was like a 30-minute Zoom call. I was like, give me like your fastest. He's like, the fastest we ever done is X time. I was like, okay. What's like that middle 80%? He's like, oh, 2 weeks. And what's your slowest? Like 3 weeks. It's like, so why are you advertising 3 weeks? He's like, I want to be safe. I'm like, nah, it's not really going to work. So with him, It's I will place a content scaling team inside your business in less than 72 hours. So 3 days. So you pay him. 3 days later, you get a content scaling team inside your business, which from you and I point of view is really just a Slack channel with an intake form. But that's it, man. So we didn't have to change his fulfillment, didn't have to change his selling. All we're going to do is change that that tight one-liner that we mentioned earlier. I don't think it's a 7-second pitch, but you know what you mean. So if he does come, we're going to do the next version of that. But there's video people coming. I'm like, I already know what you need to be putting out there in the world. So like every hour on the hour for 2 days straight, that's it. They walk out with a client. Their stuff is just done. And then for the first time in like 3 days, they get to breathe. Because like everything on the priority list is done. So that's how we run the in-person events. I think they're cool. We cap it at 15 people, man. Because every time I go to an in-person event, there's more than like 30 people. I go, who is everybody? And I'm just like looking around going, I don't know, like that. So we keep it tight. It's in the basement of an office, so you don't get distracted at all. Like there's no views of the beach. There's no getting out. And to get out of the office, by the way, you have to walk through like 3 different buildings. So I'm like, most people just give up. I'll just stay for the whole thing. So yeah, that's how we set it up. So yeah.
Awesome. If people want to get a hold of you, where do they find you? Where do they find you on Facebook? Where do they find your website? Give me some contact.
The best thing to do is to go into Facebook and type in Facebook ads, agency scaling secrets. It's the only group with a bot on it. Like there's no other group. There's a guy that tried to do YouTube agency scaling secrets. I'm like, no, don't do it. So he changed the logo. But yeah, it's Facebook ads, agency scaling secrets. And it's the only group with a bot on it. We do a lunch and learn every other week. We do an interview every other week. And the most recent lunch and learn we talked about, again, like offers, communication, stuff like that. I put out the 12 different types of content or ads, as we call them, but sometimes called content. Like I categorize 12 different types of content. We put on a spectrum of like lowest propensity to pay and highest propensity to pay. Did you see this one or no? You didn't see this one. Okay. Great. Okay. So as somebody who's technically proficient, that's very good at their job, chances are at most times you're pumping out how-to content. Like click this, don't click that. Here's some education. Here's some hints and tips and expert secrets, right? Low propensity to pay you money, high propensity to pay you money. Where do you think those exist on the spectrum? Over here on the left, low. Over here on the right, high. Do you think like hints, tips, and expert secrets?
No, they're not shit. Yeah.
No, man. So like whether you're getting paid by AdWords or paid by people, when I look up how to fix a leaky toilet, I'm not saying, oh my God, I need to pay this content creator right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Okay. Because I found the thing, peace out, goodbye. Right. So accidentally for me, for the first 2 years of my career, and most people, they're pumping out content that has a low propensity to pay you money. Hints, tips, expert secrets, how-tos, screen flows, tutorials, walkthroughs. Yeah, people watch it, they say, thanks, goodbye. That's what happens. Maybe 1 out of 100 businesses has a payment method that matches this, but for the most part, they don't. They just really don't.
Yep.
Over here is the high propensity to pay you money. Over here is like belief breaking. Over here is before and afters, testimonials, authority, direct offers. There's like 3 or 4 different kinds. But very few times are people putting out belief-breaking videos. Very often, people are putting out how-to videos. Where do you think Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, and Gary Vee are pumping out? They pumping out authority and belief-breaking and false beliefs and shattering your worldview? Or do they saying, hey, if you want to start Facebook ads, here's how we do it? They're always over here every time, right? So as I change how I interact en masse, I'll be only doing this type of stuff. And so we went over that core competency or core concept in the group. And it was really, really cool seeing a bunch of people go, I like in my head, I could see him go, motherfucker. Like I've been doing it fucking every fucking day. Goddamn. Like all the internet grumblings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that was one of the trainings that we did. It was very cool. I really recommend people take a look at it because if, for example, like if you're a YouTube clip agency and you're pumping out videos on how to do YouTube clips, you think you're doing it right. You're wrong. You're not doing it right. All you're doing is incentivizing people to not pay you money. If you are a YouTube clipping agency, you need to pump out false belief videos, like shatter people's worldviews, absolutely destroy how they think. You should be doing this instead of that, before and afters, testimonials, direct offers, do authority-based and authenticity and story-based content. Like if you do that, if you're telling a story and all of a sudden you did X, people will buy X. If you are doing tutorials They're going to watch it and do themselves and say, thank you so much, see you later, bye. Maybe give you a handshake if you're lucky. But that's why there's structurally so many people that need like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views to build a business on low propensity to pay content. But over here, you can make $1 million a year with a video that gets 2,000 views, 3,000 views.
Don't even need that many.
Don't even need that many, man. If you want $1 million a year, you need 20 clients at $4,000 a month. That's it.
Yep.
Right. And to do that, it's not the how-tos. It's about breaking false beliefs, authority, authenticity, storyboards. So, that's just me, old man rambling. But yeah,
I love it. Okay, I want to end on that. I want to end on that high note right
there.
You
got
it. I love it. So I'm gonna stop the recording. I will drop links below for Jeff's Facebook group, so you guys should go over there and join that. We stop the recording.